Hey, this is Carlton. I'm sitting here studying for my builder's exam. And anyway, it's got a really good point here. Let me read this to you. Here, you can look at me while I read this. And this goes to my idea how to reform the Judicial Merit Selection Commission of 10 members, where my idea is to have 7 members, one from each congressional district around the state, and then 3 members appointed by one from the House, one from the Senate, and one from the governor. And also the 7 members around the state cannot be lawyers. And the 3 members that are appointed by the Senate, the House, and the governor are lawyers to make sure things are legit. And I'm about to read you how this is for the South Carolina Residential Builders Commission, consisting of 8 members. And if we can do this for the South Carolina Residential Builders Commission, where they require members who are not licensed and they are just consumers, and they're not actual builders or specialty contractors, but there is a requirement for having people in the industry. And it also states in the Residential Builder Commission, 1 member must be appointed from each congressional district. There are 7 congressional districts. So this law is probably going to be amended the next session, since we have 7 congressional districts now instead of 6. Or maybe it's still 8 people. So that means 8 out of the members have to be from one from each of the congressional districts. That's my idea for the reforming the Judicial Merit Selection Commission. So here's how the Residential Builders Commission is set up. There is created the South Carolina Residential Builders Commission, which must be comprised of 8 persons who have been residents of the state for at least 5 years. That's a good requirement. We should do that for the commissioners for the Judicial Merit Selection Commission. They have to be a resident of South Carolina for at least 5 years. I like that part. The next, and 2 of whom must be consumers not engaged in the business of residential building. So my idea is the 7 members out of the 10, same situation, must be consumers and not engaged in the business of law, period. That is a great thing to say. So that's going to be my proposed bill to change the setup of the Judicial Merit Selection Commission. We're going to have that exact same line, except it's going to say 7 of whom must be consumers not engaged in the business of law, period. Because it says right here, 2 of whom must be consumers not engaged in the business of residential building. Now, I'm going to continue reading this. 4 of whom which have been actively engaged in residential building for a period of at least 5 years before the date of their appointment. Okay, I like that. So, the way we would implement this, it would be the same thing. For the 3 people who are appointed by the House, the Senate, and the governor, they have to, let's see, where's that line at? So it would say 3 of whom who have been actively engaged in the law profession for a period of at least 5 years before the date of their appointment. So that means they have to have been a lawyer for at least 5 years before they're appointed to the Judicial Merit Selection Commission appointed by the House, the Senate, and the governor. The next one, let's see, for at least 5 years, date of appointment, and who must be recommended by the governor by the South Carolina Home Builders Association. So, for the 3 lawyers that are recommended for the House, the Senate, and the governor, I think they should be recommended by the South Carolina Bar Association. So those 3 lawyers have to be recommended by the South Carolina Bar Association. That would be a great idea, because think about this. That means the Bar Association, all the members of lawyers who are members of the South Carolina Bar, would nominate these 3 people to represent them on the Judicial Merit Selection Commission. And that would be a great idea, because then the lawyers actually have a say. Hey, I want, here's the 3 lawyers we think we should nominate. So the South Carolina Bar Association gets to nominate, say 3 lawyers for the House, 3 lawyers for the Senate, and 3 for the governor to pick. And then the governor picks 1 out of those 3, and the House picks 1 out of those 3 that were recommended by the South Carolina Bar Association. And then the Senate picks 1. So the 3 lawyers that you have on the Judicial Merit Selection Commission are legit. And they were selected by their peers. And then the part that I'm talking about, the other 7 members from the 7 congressional districts, which is a requirement in the South Carolina Residential Builders Commission. All right, let's get on to that part. Period for at least 5 years. Where are we at? Governor, South Carolina. All right. And who must be recommended to the governor by the South Carolina Home Builders Association, and 1 whom has been actively engaged in residential specialty contracting for a period at least 5 years before the date of appointment. 1 member must be appointed from each congressional district. That is my idea. The Judicial Merit Selection Commission, and there was a representative that had no clue who he was voting for judges. And dude, think about this for a second. This commission currently, it is not representative of the 7 congressional districts around the state of South Carolina. So that's why my idea is to have a commissioner from each of the 7 congressional districts. That makes up 7 of the members. And like I said, the other 3 would be the lawyers. But the 7 members, we have to have someone that is familiar with that congressional district, that knows, that interacts with the congressional district. I guarantee you that is why it is written like this in the Residential Builders Code. And by the way, you can look this up. It's Article 1, Residential Home Builders, and it's Section 4059-10. 40-59-10. All right, so it's kind of cool. I'm studying, about to go take my test on Tuesday. So 1 member is appointed from each congressional district, and 1 must be appointed from the state at large. So we would not have an at-large appointment of 1 member. We'd actually have 3, because the 3 lawyers that are put on the Judicial Merit Selection Commission. And the reason I feel that we should have 7 members, 1 commissioner from each of the 7 congressional districts, is because and they are non-lawyers, because there is currently a conflict of interest with lawyer legislators appointing judges in the state of South Carolina. And there's all this nepotism and favoritism and corruption and it's crazy. I'm not going to go into it, but if you want to know more details, there's Pasco, and there's Solicitor Pasco, Solicitor Brackett, Solicitor Scarlett Wilson. You can contact them and ask them about what's going on with the Judicial Merit Selection Commission. And the next part that I really like about this, which we would implement this same thing, because I have firsthand experience where they were not doing this, and that is following the actual codes and the laws of the Judicial Merit Selection Commission based on stuff being pointed out about judges. And it has to be accountability. All right, so it also has term limits for these people. 1 member must be, all right, we already covered that part, from the congressional district, and 1 member, and 1 must be appointed from the state at large. Members of the commission must be appointed by the governor with the advance and consent of the Senate for a term of 4 years, or until their successors are appointed. and qualified. So that means if you get a new governor, they can literally change those people. For this, I would say the members of the commission must be appointed. I would write it like this: 3 members of the commission must be appointed, 1 by the governor, 1 by the Senate, and 1 by the House. And with the advance consent, well, we already got the Senate part in there, and a term of 2 4-year terms at the most. 2 4-year terms at the most. So that means for 3 of the members that are appointed by the House, the Senate, no, I would say leave it so they can have a 4-year term. So if a new governor comes in, then he can reappoint that one person that's appointed by the governor. The House and Senate, every 4 years, they can reappoint a new lawyer. So, if it flips to a Democratic Senate or Democratic House, they can say, hey, our new commissioner is going to be this person. But we're going to have an elected commissioner from each of the 7 congressional districts. That's my idea, is to give the power back to the people. Some senators and representatives, I don't believe, will like that. So maybe if they don't like that, maybe we could still have 7 non-lawyers appointed, 1 from each of the 7 congressional districts, and that's going to be something else, because then if you get, I think it'd be easier just to let each congressional district, it'd be an elected position of you're the Judicial Merit Selection Commissioner for the Congressional District 1, Congressional District 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. And they're elected by that area to literally decide what judges, are appointed and brought to the commission and all that stuff. So let's keep going over this. All right, so we got that part. A vacancy occurs by reason of death, resignation, removal for cause, or otherwise must be filled with the remainder of the unexpired term in the manner of the original appointment. The governor may remove any member of the commission in accordance with section 13240. And I would say we have that authority too, that we'd have to discuss that, how a member could be removed and who gets to remove them if they're not following the laws of the Judicial Merit Selection Commission. Before entering upon the discharge of the duties, sorry, whoever that is, before entering upon the discharge of the duties of his office, each member of his or her office, each member of the commission shall take and file with the Secretary of State in writing an oath to perform properly the duties of his or her office as a member of the commission and to uphold the Constitution of the state and the United States. I would also go farther. So if I was converting this into the Judicial Merit Selection Commission, I would read, before entering upon the discharge of the duties of his or her office, each member of the Judicial Merit Selection Commission shall take and file with the Secretary of State in writing an oath to perform properly the duties of his or her office. And we need to also implement where they have to follow the commission's policies and regulations, because that determines how a judge is either qualified or unqualified. That would need to be put into this. The duties of his or her office member commission and uphold the Constitution of the state and the United States. Completely agree with that. Commission members from the general public may be nominated by an individual, group, or association and must be appointed by the governor in accordance. I would say for this, commissioner members from the general public must be elected. So it'd say the Judicial Merit Selection Commissioner members from the general public from the 7 congressional districts must be elected by the general public. That's what I would put. So that's how this idea of implementing the idea that I have to implement and change the Judicial Merit Selection Commission and give the power back to the people to decide. And it would be where if you had a complaint, you would just, with a judge or a bad ruling, you could file your complaint with your congressional district commissioner in your area. And then you literally have a voice to say, look, this judge did this and this and this, and was not following the Constitution, was not following case law, was not following the statutes, etc., was not following their own orders that they wrote. This judge wrote orders that were completely false about me. Here's the evidence that they, wrote a false order about me, defame me, etc. And this is how we hold our judiciary accountable for their actions. So a judge could be removed, etc., by giving the power back to the people. Because right now, the Judicial Merit Selection Commission, the way they select the commissioners, it's by favoritism, nepotism, and some of the members have been on this Judicial Merit Selection Commission for like 20 years. And they know every judge, and they're legislators. They practice in law in front of the judges that they're appointing to the bench. And so far, the only 2 bills that I know of, don't quote me completely on this, but one is giving the power to the governor to select all 10 members of the Judicial Merit Selection Commission, and another one is giving the power to the Speaker of the House. I don't think either one of those ideas are great. I mean, they're better than what we have now, but I think we can do a lot better if we follow the South Carolina Residential Builders Commission, how they have appointed their 8 members, and we implement similar stuff like this. I love it how the South Carolina Residential Builders Commission, there must be members from the 7 congressional districts, or from each congressional district. It just says 1 member must be appointed from each congressional district. That means, now there's 7 instead of 6. So that's my idea for the Judicial Merit Selection Commission reform. And what do you think? Comment below. See ya.